Guys, welcome to another tutorial, and today we want to talk about list, tuple, dictionary, and sect. What they are, how to use them, when to use them, and how to really understanding them, the simplest form, I don't know, you can probably think of, right? So the very first thing I need you guys to understand is the last one we talked about, data type. Those are just primitive data types. And, some people were talking about, oh, is that all? That's not all. But we want to talk about the inbuilt data type. And the reason why I did not merge both of them together when I actually, worked on that particular course is because I don't want to confuse the beginners, right? Let's take it one step at a time. So the ones we discussed earlier, which was your string, boolean, integer, and or what you have, right? Those are primitive data type. And today we're talking about different set of data type, which is more like, the inbuilt data type. And the difference between these two, categories is that the one we're talking about today can take more than just one value, right? So, we're going to start with the list and see and move it all the way from there, right? So first of all, have you ever wondered how Python actually stored multiple value? Yeah, that's basically what we want to talk about today. So in this video, in total, I'm just going to discuss just four things and tell you how they work in a simple way, right? So the very first one is list. Now, what is list? A list is a store. Is a list stores multiple item in one variable, right? So lists are ordered and very much more changeable. Now, what am I talking? Let's talk less and just do more coding. So I'm gonna come down here, and I'm gonna create a class, and here I want to create a file. Basically, I'm going to call this. Let me call this data, pretty much, .py. So the very first one we're talking about here is list. So I'm just going to label them up there so that I can separate them, and as we go, right? And we already said list. A list stores multiple item in one variable. So how do you actually write list? So let's say we have, like, for example, we have fruits. And I can set that equals to, remember this block, braces. This called block braces actually square. Is this square brackets? Yeah, square bracket. This is actually, wherever you see this, we are talking about list. So I'm just going to come in here and say orange, and I will say, let me say apple, and let's just get three, and I'll say maybe banana, right? Is that how we get it? Banana. Okay, great. All right, so we have a list. That's what it is. As simple as this. You can go on and on inside this, but you define different stuff inside here. It could also be, any type of, primitive data type. It don't matter, but we're just going to keep it simple for now. All right, so let's go ahead and print this list, and I'm just going to go and say fruits, and boom, that's it. We're done with lists. As simple as that. Not hard at all. So here I'm going to go clear, and let me run this. I'm going to call Python M3, and I'll call data.py. And here you can see we have our list. Now, just to give us a little better understanding of the for loop the last class we had, if we want to print out this gradually and just individually without seeing the block, bracket, how do we do that? I'm just going to do that right quick as a bonus. Here we can use for loop for I, or let's say for fruits, in fruits, all right? And I'm just going to push that. I'm not going to speak so much on this one. If you want to watch it, just click on the banner coming up now and go back and watch that video. Then you can continue this one. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and just print fruits. Okay, and boom, that's about it. It's just going to print everything inside the list without the curly braces. You see that? That's what it is. That's how you define a list. You go by the name of that list, which here could be the variable, and here it takes in more than one, right? It takes it more than one value, which is our list. Oh, right before we go to the next one, let me speak on a little bit here on this particular list. Now, let's say we want to actually access an item, just one item, because what we just did was to print everything out. Let's say we want to access just one item inside this place. How do we actually do that? We do that by, the index, and I'm going to show you how. So if I want to print just orange, I'm going to go ahead and just type in print, and I will call in the fruits. But then with a bracket, I'm going to access this by the index, right? I'm going to access this by the index. And for me to access this, I'm just going to go here and put in 0. And when I save this and run it, you are going to be surprised what you're going to see, which is this, orange. And the reason for this is whenever we have a list, it starts counting index 0, index 1, and index 2. All right, so if I want to print banana, think for a bit. How will I print banana? To print banana, I have to put in index 2. And when I save that, I can clear this and run this, and I have banana down here. Does that make sense? So with that being said, I am going to go down to how do you actually change an item? Let's say you are along the line you're coding and you don't even want Apple anymore here. How do you go ahead and change this particular, thing? And here I'm just going to get rid of this one. For you to change that, just call on the fruits, right? Which is the name of the variable list. Call on the fruits and call, first of all, the position you want to change. In this case, it's going to be, this is 0 and this is 0 and this is 1, right? In this case, it is 1. And I'm just going to put equal to and then whatever value you want, right? So in this case, I want to change it to, let's say, maybe mango, right? And now if I go ahead and print, that particular list, you're going to see that we're not going to have Apple anymore. We're going to have Apple replaced with, mango. Let's go ahead and run that and see what we got. So here I'm just going to go run that, and you can see that we have orange, we have mango, and we have banana. Does that make sense? So that's how you actually change an item, and you also that's how you access any of the item in the list with their index. Okay, with that being said, let's move forward. I'm just going to clear this up, and we go down to the next one. Now, what's the next one? The next one is a tuple, right? So what is a tuple actually, you may ask? A tuple is like a list basically, but the only difference is that you cannot change. It cannot be changed. The item cannot be changed. It's just there, right? It is fixed. It cannot be changed. Now, how do we declare a tuple? Now, I would say you call stuff like, let's say you're dealing with coordinates on the map. Let's say you're working on a map app. You're dealing with coordinates, and you have that to be, a tuple, because that you cannot manipulate anyhow, right? So here a tuple comes with, the normal brackets that we all know, right? So here I'm just gonna put in 12, and I'll put in, let's say 33, and if I go ahead and print this, we are going to see the coordinates, right, of what we got. So let me clear this up and print this. You can see we have 12 and 33. So a tuple is more like a list. But the difference between a tuple now, you can see that you have this, your normal, I don't think this is curly braces. This is normal braid. I don't know. Whatever it is, you guys remind me of the brackets. What type of bracket is this? C bracket, right? So the difference is that this is a block bracket and this is a C bracket. I don't know if I'm making up name for that, but it is what it is. So that's the difference. And the difference is that this can be modified, but this cannot. It is what? It is fixed right there, okay? So whenever you hear tuple, you're talking about fixed values, all right? All right, so we're going to move down to the third one, which is dictionary. And first of all, what is dictionary actually? So a dictionary basically stores data in key value pairs. So you have your key and you have a value. And this is very much important. I'm coming back later to explain. I'm going to explain later the importance of these things, right? So here, let's look at how we can define, a dictionary. So here, let's say we have a student, right? We have students, and each of the student, we want to actually get some values, or we want to store some information about a student. Now, this is where we got to use curly braces. The one thing about these data types is that you can tell by the type of brackets they're using. This is block, this is C bracket, like I mentioned, but this one is curly braces, right? Brackets. So when you do that, now you can like come inside of it, because we say it comes with key and value. It means you have to define a key and you have to define a value for that particular key. So here, inside here, we're going to call this the key a name, and we're going to give it a value. The name should be Patrick. All right, that's one. Another thing information we want to store about this particular student is we want to know the age. I'm going to come here and store the key to be age and the value to be what? 21. You can see that this is integer. Python is smart enough to know that age is integer, the name is a string, and so on and so forth, right? Now, let's say this particular student, we want to store the grade. And here I'm going to come here and say grade, and I will put in my key to be grade. And now what's going to be my value? String as well. Let's say this is a B student, right? This is a B student. So what we just did here is to create a dictionary. And this is how you declare dictionary in Python. All right, so you write the name of the dictionary, which in this case could be the variable name, and you put in your curly braces, start and ending. And now, because dictionary got to deal with key and values, here we've declared the key to be what? Name, and the value to be Patrick. The age to be what? The value, the key to be age, and the value to be 21. The key to be grade, and the value to be B. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is how do we access this value, basically. Now, let's say we want to print a name of this particular student. How do we do that? I'm just going to go ahead and use print, and I'm going to call in students, okay, which is the name of the variable here, but in this case, dictionary. I'm going to call that. Once I call that, I'll put in a block sign. Now, you may be wondering, why is it not just this sign? Now, we're trying to call a single entity inside the student. So we're going to use this one, of course. That's the rule. So here I'm going to go there and I'm going to say, I want to access name. So I'm calling name with what? I'm calling name with the key. Now, the key that I pass in here is going to fetch me the value. Okay. So you got to remember, this is the key and this is the value, right? So with that being said, when I run this right now, I'm going to get Patrick. Let's run that. All right, so you can see here, I have Patrick up here. And that's it. So you already know now, if you want to get the age, just come here and change your value. And when you save that, let me comment this one or take it off instead. And when you come down here and you run that, you're going to see, oh, I didn't save that. Let me clear this so we can have a clean slate. All right, you can see that it's 21, the age is 21. Now, if I want to access the grade, I'm going to come down here and put in grade. And when I save that and run it, you're going to see we have B. So that's how you access items in dictionary. Now, you may be asking a question, how do you update the value of a dictionary? It is kind of similar to the list. Let me do that. So I'm going to take this off or come right above this. And how do we access the value in a dictionary? What you want to do here is to call the student first of all, and you open up and write the particular name. Let's say I want to change the name, and I put in the particular key and I set that equal to, and now I'm going to put in Dixon, okay? When I put in Dixon and I save this and I try to print the name, I'm not going to get Patrick anymore as it is in the original dictionary. Now I'll get something else. Let's run this and see what we have. Now I'm getting Dixon. That's because we've modified the name of the student and we change it right here to be Dixon. Does that make sense? All right, with that being said, that's actually how you update value in dictionary. Now, can we move forward? All right, with that being said, we're going to move forward. I'm going to take that up a little bit. And now we're going to talk about sets, right? Now, let me bring this down a little here and comment that we're talking about set here. Now, let's talk about set. What is set? So a set stores unique values only. So If you have like 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 9, 10, it's going to see those three as words as one. So it stores your only unique value. Anything looking as same, it's going to be stored as one. Now I'm going to show you an example. So first of all, let me show you how to declare it. Let's say we have numbers, right? And we set that equal to, for you to get a set, you have to use curly braces, right? Let me go again from the beginning. For you to write a list, use a block. For you to write a tuple, you use a C type. For you to write a dictionary, you use a curly braces. For you to write a number as well, you use curly braces. The only difference between dictionary and set is that dictionary has two pairs, right? The key and the value. But for numbers, you only have just the values, right? So, but the both of them use curly braces. Don't forget this. It's very important. All right, inside here I can say 1, 2, 3, sorry, 3, I can say 4, I can say 4, I can say 4, and then I say 5, right? So if I have this right now to be this, how do I actually run this? Let me print this out first of all. Let's see what we got. Result will tell you exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to go ahead and comment this one because we don't need that anymore. Let's just focus on set. All right, saving that and coming down here, getting a clean slate and run that. We can see clearly that we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's telling you that this other two fours don't mean nothing because we're talking about sets. So when you repeat any numbers in sets, it takes those and make them just one. Does that make sense? So that's actually how you actually deal with sets here. Sets just takes even though the number appears twice or 4 times or 5 times, Python will keep them as one as long as you're talking about or dealing with sets data type. All right, so that's the 3 of them. Let's just see how we can just get a little quick stuff. When we're talking, just a little recap. When we're talking about lists, I want you to remember that it has to do with ordered list, and it can be changeable, right? When we're talking about tuple, it is still ordered. Actually, we're going from 12, 13 like that horizontally, but you cannot change it, right? That is tuple for you. Now, when we're talking about dictionary are just keys and values. When you remember this thing, dictionary, this both, this both key points, the key and the value, dictionary becomes so much easy for you to work with. And when we talk about sets is unordered, right? So no matter, even if I take the 4 and put at the very beginning, let me put 4 here, right? Let me put 4 here and then put another 5 in the middle here. And, and I run this right now. Let me run it. Clear this and I run this. It's still going to print it out as 1, 2, 3, right? Even though it's unordered, it's not ordered, it's still going to do that. And another thing about sets is that it doesn't take duplicates. So you can see I started with 4, but it actually put it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No matter where the 5 is positioned, you can just scatter your values and you put them up together, right? All right, so let's just take a very good real life example here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and clear everything. I just want you to pay attention here, right? So here, let's just say we want to store anything concerning users. How do we store them? We can use a list. Yeah, I can say Patrick. I can say Alex. And I can say what? Let me say Doris. All right? You can store users' name like this inside the list. Now, let's say we want to store each of these user information, right? We can just come here and say user info, right? And what will be the appropriate data type for this? A dictionary, because we want the name of that particular user and then the information of that user. So here, to store dictionary, remember we're having 2 key important information, which is what? The first one is the key, and the second one is the value. So what's going to be the key here? It's going to be the name, and what do we want to store here? We want to store Patrick, right? All right, so that's about it. What is actually the role of this particular Patrick? The role of this particular Patrick, I can put the role to be what? He's a lecturer. I can say lecturer. Right. So that's about it. I taken Patrick and I store the information and I gave Patrick a role as well. And I can access the name and the role just like we did earlier. Right? So if you want to store stuff like, let's say, stuff like, the visited pages. Let's say you are a website developer. This is where you can use what we call, you can use tuple, right? Because you don't want to repeat stuff. I can come here and just say this user, visited the home page. And the user also visited the profile, right? Because this is an ordered list, it's not going to duplicate stuff. And the user also visited, let's say, like dashboard. Right, pretty much it like that. So that's how you have it. And this is how Python manages real data. So this is just an example of what it is. So with that being said, whenever you want to use list for data changes, use tuple when data must not change, and of course use dictionary for labeled data, and use sets to remove duplicates. That's as much as that. With that being said, if you have any question, please go ahead and put it in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next class. Bye for now.